Do you have a child who kicks and screams each night when it's time to do homework? Does your child ever come home from school asking, "Why is school so hard for me?" Or does your child simply struggle to get the grades that they need in the classroom? If so, you're watching the right video, because today I'm going to be telling you why your child's struggling at school, the science behind it all, and what you can do to fix it, regardless of whether your child's having trouble in math, science, reading, or writing. And I promise the answer isn't what you're thinking, because the solution to almost any academic problem is universal. So if you've ever asked, what can I do to help my anxious child with their schoolwork, or simply want to know how to relieve school anxiety, I've got you covered. My name's Sean. I'm a certified bilingual educator from Texas. My background in teaching over the last decade has been primarily with students learning English, but I've also worked as a school teacher for non-ESL students. During my time as an educator, I've learned that all students who struggle in class have one thing in common, and it doesn't matter their grade level, whether or not they're a native English speaker isn't important, and it doesn't matter if they have a young or old teacher. I'm talking about one universal problem that's got a fail-proof strategy so simple you're not going to believe your eyes or your ears when I tell it to you. I've watched parents employ some of the techniques I'm going to tell you about in this video today, and then later they bring me gifts thanking me because before learning this powerful, life-changing nugget of information, their child would dread going to school. Does something like this sound familiar to you? You wake your child up for school. They either pretend to be asleep or lay around until you force them to get up. They fight you tooth and nail to brush their teeth and hair. Getting their clothes on is a nightmare within itself. When you finally get their clothes on, it's a battle to get them into the car. And once they're in the car, they scream all the way to school. When you arrive, you practically got to drag them out of the car and into the classroom, only to go through the rest of your day praying you don't get a call from the teacher or the principal. Countless parents go through a similar situation day in and day out with their children, and the good news, it isn't your child's fault. So what could the issue be? I found that students struggle at school because of one of the following reasons. The first one could be your routines at home aren't consistent. If your at-home homework or reading routines are inconsistent or non-existent, you're going to have a hard time getting your child to pay attention at home and in the classroom. So, to combat this, set up a specific time each day where you read a book with your child or do their homework with them. Everyone loves a routine, and a child is no different. The second thing I found is that sometimes when parents try to help children, the teaching can be a little bit confusing. At home and school, your child might be very confused about what's going on. So in the classroom, how do I fix this as a teacher, and what can you do at home? In the classroom, I always employ a strategy called share and pair. That means a child must ask another child in the class for help before they ask me. Apart from encouraging children to network and cooperate with each other, the strategy also helps children get information from a peer. By doing this, a child gets information presented in a way they're more likely to understand, a way that you and I, as adults, do not know how to express that information. So at home, if you've only got one child, you can't really rely on this strategy. So instead, you should find new ways to present information. Don't underestimate the power of visuals, especially if your child is an ESL student, because visuals will help them to see everything and create new connections in their mind. The third thing I usually find is that children think the content is boring. It's no secret that children think learning is boring, but they don't have to. We just need to incorporate fun activities when doing homework or reading at home. One such activity that I do that kids absolutely love is called the reading game. I use it with my online students, and I also used it with students in the classroom. It's stupid simple. All you gotta do is grab a deck of cards, and then you want to shuffle the cards as fast as you can. And you want the child to say, "Stop, stop, stop." When they say stop, you pick one card. It doesn't matter what kind of card you have. You're going to flip it over and you're going to make something up for the child to do. For example, I might tell a student they need to balance a book on their head while standing on one foot reading a section of a text. Turn it into a game to see if they can read everything without dropping the book from their head or without tipping over. Another example is to read with a cowboy voice. Kids love it, and it makes a seemingly boring task fun and stupidly simple for you to make engaging with your child at home. The fourth thing I see is that activities become repetitive. Don't keep doing the same things when you help your child. If you do the reading game today, you don't want to do it tomorrow. Make sure that you employ a wide range of games and fun activities. One such activity that I love is called whale reading. Have you ever seen the movie Finding Nemo? You know, there's one part where Dory tries to speak like a whale. Have your child do this as they read, especially if they struggle with letters and their sounds. It'll help you identify what they most need help with so you can review it at home or tell their teacher. That way their teacher can work on this with them. And the fifth reason I see that children hate homework and struggle in school is because they hate reading. And this one really makes me sad as an educator. Have you ever wondered why teachers' eyes light up and we get a huge smile on our face when we see your child reading a book in the classroom? It's not because we want your child to be seen and not heard. In fact, it's the opposite. We want all children in our classrooms to have fun, learning, and participate throughout the day. We spend so much time on this each week. We spend hours planning fun activities to make mundane, repetitive tasks more enjoyable. So, what is the real reason why we gleam with joy when we see your child reading a book in our classrooms? Well, according to science, it's because there's more than meets the eye when it comes to reading. By now, you might be saying, but my kid can read, so what exactly are you on about? Get to the point. So let me tell you a story about a student I have named Jamie. Jamie is a past student of mine, and he was an enthusiastic learner with big dreams. He wanted to be a police officer so he could fight bad guys and keep people in his community safe. But every day when Jamie went home, his mom told me that he would cry and kick and scream. She said that getting homework done was a total nightmare. She even said she'd rather pull out her hair than sit with him and try to get the work done. So the teacher and me had to pull the mom over and ask, what exactly makes Jamie avoid his homework? You know, as teachers, we only see half of the issue. What happens in class is not what's happening at home. His mom told me that math brought Jamie to tears again and again. Didn't matter if it was multiplication, addition, subtraction. If he saw numbers on the page, he would start crying and he would just give up.
Okay, that's it. I quit.
Jamie was in the 3rd grade when his mom brought this to my attention, and she couldn't figure out why he was dreading his work so much when previously in 2nd grade and 1st grade, he didn't mind doing his homework. So I got to thinking what exactly could be Jamie's problem so I could give his mom a solution. Turns out, Jamie's difficulty wasn't math at all. There's a lot of reading involved in math, so it was his reading comprehension skills that were the most difficult. Reading isn't only about books and writing essays or letters to Santa. It's a crucial skill for understanding math, science, social studies, because reading is about understanding and grasping context, scenarios, and understanding information to its core. And here's the deal. It extends to all academic areas. Science, social studies, physical education, music. Can you see where I'm headed with this? Literacy is a cornerstone for success, and it influences every aspect of learning. Research conducted by Dr. Christopher McNorgan at the University of Buffalo shows that the brain regions activated during reading are also engaged in mathematical tasks. This illustrates the deep connection between reading and problem solving in math. Now, you may be wondering, what if my kid is good at math? Well, in science, reading is equally important. Reading lays the foundation for understanding and practicing scientific concepts. Effective reading is essential for comprehending scientific texts, which often contain complex language and structures. So can you see how reading is not just a skill for literacy? It's a tool for life, empowering and enabling your child in countless ways.
I got it.
So if your child faces challenges in reading or connecting it with other subjects, remember, there are resources and programs to help, and there are things you can do at home. For example, my Reading Wonders Mastery program is a fun, learner-focused online course that'll boost your kids' confidence and lower their anxiety at school. We learn about everything, including whether or not a spider can fart. Yes, you heard that right. If a spider can fart. Because let's be honest, what kid doesn't giggle or at least crack a smile when they hear the word fart? Programs designed for children of parents just like you, those who've done everything but still have an anxious learner who is struggling at school. And I get it, not all parents are looking for an external solution to their child's problems. Others may have had horrible experiences with tutors. Sometimes people just prefer a face-to-face tutor. I still want to give you a lot of value in this video, so let's jump into some things you can do to combat number 5, which is your child hates reading. Everything I'm going to tell you is going to help you combat nightly homework fights and children who bawl and squall at the thought of going to school. But if you are interested in learning how I can help your child, click the link in the description below to read more about my Reading Wonders Mastery course. Now, how can you fix the fact that your child hates reading? It's simple. Let's cover a few things you can do to get your kid reading and more engaged at home. The first thing is to talk about books. Talking to children about books and stories can help them to realize how exciting the stories in them are. Show an interest in what your child's read, ask questions about it, and swap opinions. Make sure you read a book as well and tell your child, I like this book because. Why do you like this book? The second thing you want to do is make it fun. There are so many things you can do with books beyond reading them. Maybe you could ask your child to draw their favorite character or act out what they've read for you. We often use acting in the classroom, specifically with ESL students, but we also do it with native English speakers. It allows students to express emotion, it allows them to regulate their own emotions, and it also helps them to understand writing a little better. Could you imagine if you see a sentence like, he angrily said, the dog snapped at me. If the child reads it as, the dog snapped at me, it shows you that they might need a little bit of help with writing, because that's going to have an exclamation point. They should say,
he snapped at me.
You want to get them into this, and the best way to do it is acting. Or perhaps you could try recreating some classic book covers, or even taking photos to help your child make a book cover at home. This incorporates technology. Give a kid an iPhone, give a kid an iPad, they're going to be super engaged. So go ahead and use those resources to make activities like creating book covers at home. The next thing you want to do is try funny books. Everyone likes a good giggle. And when I say think of funny books, I'm talking about silly books that are absolutely absurd, but kids love. Think Captain Underpants, Super Poop, which is a personal favorite of mine, and Bunny versus Monkey, which is a comic book, but still helps a lot with reading. I quite enjoy Bunny versus Monkey with my ESL students because there are a lot of visuals to help them understand the words. The last thing I want you to know is not to worry about what your children are reading. Of course, we don't want them to read anything inappropriate. So yes, you want to have an idea of what they are reading. But what I mean by this is don't worry if it is a short story, poetry, a graphic novel, a nonfiction book, a joke book, even a comic on the back of a cereal packet. It doesn't matter what your child is reading. The goal here is to get them enjoying what they are reading. Anything could kickstart a love for books, and don't panic if your child is reading the same book over and over again. This is something that a lot of parents have issues with, and I always tell the parents, don't worry about it. Your child's reading, which is what you want. It's going to help them get better. All of these combined will nurture your child's reading abilities, and you will be setting them up for a lifetime of learning and success. So if your child fights tooth and nail when going to school or doing work at home, remember, there's a lot you can do to help, starting with your schedule and ending with fostering a love for reading. But in the grand scheme of things, science shows that most likely, if a student is acting this way, it's because they have a reading issue. So try to incorporate books into your everyday life. Talk about them. Set up a routine, and make sure when you're explaining something that you try to be as clear as possible. Put yourself in your child's shoes. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe, because all the videos I make are about helping kids do better in school through reading and language, specifically ESL students, but occasionally I do throw out some good pieces of information for parents who have native English speaking students. All right, guys, I'm Teacher Sean from Lou English, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.